One of the mistakes that I continue to make in my life is the idea of trying anything. The idea of practicing something. You either do it or you don't do it. There's actually no such thing as trying or practicing if you think about it. But the even bigger mistake that I made is thinking that I have to overcome something, overcome challenges, beat my losses, beat my desires, beat my monkey mind, beat my distractions, beat my procrastination, beat my laziness, beat my scrolling addiction, overcome my fears, beat my fears. The problem with this framework, in my opinion, is it makes my life into resisting something that doesn't need to exist. When I say I have to overcome my laziness, for example, I imply that laziness is forever a part of my character. Not a single person in this world is forever lazy. If you look at what's deemed a couch potato's life with a lot of attention, there are times when the couch potato is looking at the TV and focusing on the scene with the same level of intensity that a D1 athlete is using for himself. There were times when someone that played League of Legends for 24/7 used to be considered lazy. Some of them are now rock stars that are able to focus on this one singular task with a lot of intensity. Similarly, a D1 athlete or Olympic sprinter might have moments of resting and slogging that might surprise a couch potato. They might both be doing the same thing, but with a different context and different label. So it is that no one is actually truly ever hardworking, truly ever lazy fully. One of the goats, one of my all-time goats, once said in his lyrics, "Every individual is only a version of you. How can you forgive when there's no forgiveness in your heart?" That is very true, but I think it also highlights another very interesting thing to me. Is something like forgiveness and self-love actually a thing? Yes, but only in the context of something else. The only reason we ever need to forgive someone is because we blame them to begin with. Ellen Langer said that. The only reason we think about self-love is because there was some kind of hatred within ourselves to begin with. Wouldn't it be then better to not blame at all? So there's no need to forgive at that point. Would it not be better to not hate ourselves first? The solution to the root problem isn't these little fixes like forgiveness or self-love. It's the creation of the binary to begin with. Seeking to understand removes blame. Loving removes the need for self-love. Those words ring closer to my heart now than ever before. I'm sure I've heard those words before, but now it feels right. Okay, with that in mind, let's switch back to the topic of fear. These types of binaries always seem to exist in our culture and language. What does it mean to be courageous and brave, for example? We really value people that are courageous and really value people that are brave. If I pride myself in my courage and my bravery, then I automatically imply that I have fear to begin with. But fear doesn't actually exist. Fear is made by the conditioned mind hoping to be wrong in some ways. What I mean by that is that fear is the anticipation of a consequence based on prior experience or genetics or what you've been told that is not actually certain. For example, when we see a snake in the road, our base reaction is probably to run away from it. But it's not certain that the snake will bite us. It's not even necessarily probable the snake will bite us. This is a guess and an inference made by our ancestral monkey minds that were always running away from snakes because they were our natural predators. And while it's true that probability and possibility are not the same thing, and in my opinion, it's probably true that a snake is more probable to bite us than a domestic dog. That being said though, when fear arises, these probabilities are not actually in our mind. They're not actually probability that we think of. We just think of a consequence that is dire, whether or not it's 100% likely to happen or 0% likely to happen. There is no probability or chance in this case, only an absolute. This is an illusion. Absolutes are an illusion because things are always changing. The one thing that could be absolute in this case, in my opinion, is the nature of change. The world has many domestic dogs that will bite us. The world has many snakes that will never bite us. At the moment that we see that snake, we know nothing, and anything becomes a possibility. The probability would only occur in hindsight after the event has occurred. Like for example, what if that was actually a toy snake that we had mistaken for something else? The probability there is actually 0%, but we didn't see that. We didn't see that because of fear, and we thought it was higher. What if the toy snake was actually made with like a leather that we're allergic to? And all of a sudden, the possibility and the probability of it hurting us is actually higher than a regular snake. So that's why I hold the belief that the mindset of possibility on moment-to-moment notice is actually more accurate than the mindset of probability. Probability can be true. I still operate with probability, and I'm not going to be a gambling addict anytime soon. Every probability just implies a possibility of something else always. And in any moment, the next moment is already impossible because of the implication of change. So it's all just prediction in some ways. Is this actually useful though? What's wrong with being scared? Should I be scared? Is fear useful? I think fear separates us from others and from ourselves. It falsely silos parts of our trait into seeing things like courage and fear. These things are always changing throughout the day, throughout the time. It places us on a hierarchy of items when all quality of experience is technically equal. Let me list other things that I'm scared of. I'm scared of being too lazy. I'm scared I'll be addicted to something. I'm scared I'll get fat. I'm scared I'm too mean. I'm scared I'll die alone. I'm scared I'll die in a corporate job. I'm scared I don't call my parents enough. I'm scared I won't find a romantic relationship. For all those occurrences, the exact opposite fear also arises. I'm scared that I'm too brute force and I work without thinking. I'm scared I'm too robotic and unspontaneous. I'm scared I don't enjoy food enough, that there's too much to experience. I'm scared I have no boundaries. I'm too nice. I'm scared that I'll just become another influencer. I am scared that I'm too reliant on my parents. I am scared that a romantic relationship could ruin me. Each of those statements that I stated earlier had an opposite question to it. Each of those fears are only true because the first prior condition was also true. They were the opposites of each other: mean versus having too much boundaries, being alone versus being in the wrong relationship, being fat versus wanting to enjoy food, etc., etc. As a result, I have now separated all of my beings into different separate buckets, not realizing they're all pointing to the same thing with different contexts and interpretation. I am now at war with myself constantly. I'm scared of myself for what I think is no reason at all. So if I take an act and I take it, I can only know if it's too nice or too mean in hindsight. It's only ever true in hindsight. If this, and the other quote, if every individual is only a version of you, that means that knowing this about myself is knowing this about others as well. That means that every time I judge someone else, I'm morally judging them for a trait that I'm scared of myself. And I just made the case that that trait is not something that we need to have. I don't need to fear my fears. I can be free of my fear by just understanding. If this fear is now gone, then I could truly understand others as well. Isn't that love? In my world currently, the evidence of my fear is almost always the past. It's something I could remember feeling in the past when I'm aware now. That doesn't mean that I will not be scared in the future. But when I see it, it's not there anymore. It's simply gone. When I have mindless activity, it'll come back again. So when people say I'm afraid, yes, but I'm not afraid of being afraid, that's probably what they mean. So when I say I want to overcome my fears and my failures, my rejection, my past, my losses, the evidence of all that is in the past. What I really mean is I want to overcome what I once remembered to be a challenge and a fear and a rejection. But by implying and breaking down that sentence, what I'm really saying is there's nothing to overcome at all. It's just a play. It becomes an action that I kind of naturally do, but I don't have to do. So this is the line of thinking that I'm approaching it with. You don't have to overcome your trauma. You just have to understand it. You don't have to overcome your failures or your fears. You just have to understand it. And understanding it just means it goes back to zero in some sense. It's possible to overcome your fear. You cannot run from your fear and you must feel it. Yet, you cannot want to overcome your fear because it invites fear. Fear does not actually exist. So you don't have to overcome anything. It just is. No courage, no fear. It all goes back to zero. I think the idea of discipline is almost exactly the same thing. That might be a video topic for some other time because I think this is already so confusing. I hope it makes sense.